Thank you. I hereby open the regular session of the Planning Commission, and it looks like we have not had a change in commissioner attendance, so I will not repeat the roll call. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, no, you can start roll call first. I just put it up there so we had time.
Oh, great. Okay. We have roll call, please.
Chair McGinley,
Present.
Commissioner Gill,
Present.
Commissioner Koivula,
Here.
Commissioner Bergen,
Here.
Commissioner Salzar,
Present.
absent Commissioner Landon. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like to ask members of the audience who are joining us by phone or online to please keep yourselves on mute until you are called to provide public testimony. There are 2 times designated for public testimony this evening. First is business from the audience, which is a time for anyone to speak to the Planning Commission on any subject that is not the Metro Plan Diagram Amendment or zoning map amendment that is on the agenda tonight. If you are joining us online and wish to speak, please use the chat window. Please send a comment to the host with your name, mailing address, and the subject you would like to speak about. You can select the host only at the bottom of the chat window. Please do not use the chat feature for any other purpose during the meeting. I will call on you when it is your turn to speak. For people calling in by phone, we will announce a time for those on the phone to speak. If you do not wish to speak, just state that you do not want to speak. And then later on, we'll have a specific time if you would like to speak about the topic that's on the agenda. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? All right, not hearing any.
I have not received any, Chair.
Thank you, Brenda. So now we will have business from the audience. Do you have any chats from business of the audience, Brenda?
I have no chats from business of the audience.
Do we have anybody on the phone?
We do not.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
Chair McGinley,
Yes,
one thing is that we did receive a comment through Springfield, Oregon Speaks. And I posted a response just right prior to the meeting. Anyway, we had a comment about transportation issues in the city. And so commissioners can take a look at the response to that when you log into Springfield, Oregon Speaks.
okay, great, thank you so much. And did all of the commissioners have a chance to review the comment on Springfield, Oregon Speaks? Okay. Oh, Commissioner Puebla.
Yes, there was a staff response to that. I hadn't seen that yet.
Yeah, I just posted it probably like at 5:20. So
Okay, I'll take a look for it. Thank you.
Great, thank you for letting us know, Sandy, and for coordinating a response. Okay, so the first item on our agenda is or not the first item, but the item I'm getting to right now is the approval of minutes. We have quite a large batch. They're from February 4th, 2020 work session, the March 17th, 2020 Committee for Citizen Involvement, the March 17th, 2020 work session, the November 17th, 2020 Committee for Citizen Involvement, the May 18th, 2021 work and regular session. One thing I'll note is that Commissioner Salazar was not on the commission for all of these meetings. If you are able to vote if you would like to, if you'd like to abstain, you can also do that, but just letting you know. With that being said, are there any corrections to the minutes, or do we have a motion to approve the minutes as published in the agenda packet?
This is Commissioner Gill. I move to approve the minutes as submitted in the packet.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gill, seconded by Commissioner Cuevla. Brenda, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Commissioner McGinley,
Aye.
Commissioner Landon absent, Commissioner Gill,
Aye.
Commissioner Coivula,
Yes.
Commissioner Bergen.
Aye.
Commissioner Salzar.
Abstain.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Okay. Now we'll move on to our next agenda item, and thank you, Brenda, for putting together all of those minutes, catching up from the last year. This is a combined public hearing for both the Metro Plan Diagram Amendment and the zoning map amendment for property near the northwest corner of Marcola Road and 28th Street. These are case numbers 811-221-00097-TYP4 and 811-221-00096-TYP3. I hereby open the public hearing. And I'll hand it over to Christina Kratz to read the quasi judicial statement of rights.
Thank you, Chair. Tonight's hearing is a quasi judicial hearing on a proposal for Metro Plan Diagram Amendment and a Springfield zoning map amendment. A copy of the procedures and agenda for tonight's hearing and copies of the staff reports have been posted on the Commission's website at springfieldoregonspeaks.org. Any person with an interest in today's agenda may offer relevant oral or written testimony or both. To preserve your right to appeal the decision to the Land Use Board of Appeals, you must testify orally or in writing before the City Council closes the public record at a future public meeting. You must raise an issue clearly enough so that the Commission and Council can understand it, and you must offer evidence in support of it, or else you cannot raise that issue on appeal to the Oregon Land Use Board of Appeals. If you are the applicant, you must raise concerns about any conditions of approval clearly enough to allow the Planning Commission and City Council to respond, to preserve your right to seek damages in circuit court. If you feel you need more time to prepare evidence or testimony for the Planning Commission, you can ask the Commission to hold open the record or to continue the hearing. You must make that request before the chair closes the public portion of tonight's hearing. Decisions on whether to extend the hearing are discretionary with the Commission. However, any individual has a right to request an extension of the written record at this first evidentiary hearing. Please make sure your testimony is related to applicable criteria. The criteria for this application are located in Springfield Development Code section 5.14-135 for the comprehensive plan Metro Plan Diagram Amendment and 5.22-115 for the zoning map amendment. Demonstrations from the audience are prohibited. Comments from the audience or comments from the phone or online that are out of turn or that are posted in the chat box will not be part of the record. If you are joining the meeting online via tablet, smartphone, or computer and wish to provide public comment, please use the chat window. It looks like a speech balloon in the organizer in the bar. You can send a comment to the host with your name, mailing address, whether you are in favor, neutral, or opposed to the application. The Planning Commission chair will call on you when it is your turn to speak. Those calling in by phone will be called afterward. We're not having any in person tonight, so I'll skip that part. When you're called on to speak, please begin your testimony by giving your name and mailing address, unless you have already posted it in the chat. Mailing address is necessary for the record and to provide you with notice of the City Council's final decision. If you represent someone else, please say so. If you have any exhibits you want the Planning Commission to consider, such as a copy of your testimony or photographs, petitions, other documents, or physical evidence, please email it to alimbird@springfield-or.gov. Members of the Planning Commission are to be unbiased in their recommendation to the City Council. Before the start of the hearing, commissioners will state whether they have any conflicts of interest, such as family, financial, or business relationship with any of the applicants, or with regard to the land in question. If such a potential conflict exists, the commissioner will state whether he or she is without actual bias. Commissioners will also state whether they have discussed the application in question with any of the parties or have independent knowledge of relevant facts, such as from a site visit or other source. If any of the commissioners have such knowledge, independent knowledge or contacts, they will disclose the substance of the knowledge or contacts. During the time for public testimony, a witness may challenge the impartiality of a planning commissioner and may rebut the substance of a planning commissioner's knowledge of the facts. The commissioner in question may respond to such a challenge. Chair McGinley, it is now appropriate to ask if any commissioner wants to declare any potential conflict of interest, ex parte contact, or independent knowledge of relevant facts.
Thank you, Christina. I'll start. I have seen the property or the site on Google Maps and through past Planning Commission applications. Go over to Commissioner Cuevla.
The same.
Commissioner Gill,
I have seen the site through past commissioner meetings.
Commissioner Salazar,
I have seen the site through past meetings and I have driven by the site once.
Commissioner Bergen,
Familiar with the site and potential conflict of interest being a realtor in a life agent in Oregon.
thank you, everyone. Are there any challenges from the public to the impartiality of the commissioners or objection to the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission to hear the matter before us? Brenda, is there anything in the chat or via phone?
Neither.
All right, thank you. Looks like we will proceed. And I will hand it off to lead planner Andy Limbird for the staff report.
Thank you, Chair McGinley. I'm going to share my screen here if I can. I think that's why I'm not visible here. I tried that as a dry run, so let's see if we can get this moving here. Hopefully I can start it from the beginning, and hopefully everyone can see a PowerPoint slide with the site in question. So most commissioners, I believe Commissioner Salazar may not have been present with the prior planning efforts that were done for the Marcola Meadows neighborhood, but recently, being 2020, there were comprehensive plan amendments and zone changes proposed and adopted for the Marcola Meadows neighborhood sort of comprehensively. It affected the majority of the site. And so the site was rezoned to predominantly medium density residential zoning. This is the site that's in question. The applicant has now come back with a proposed redesignation and rezoning for a corner piece of the property right at the intersection of Marcola Road at 28th Street. This had previously been mixed use commercial zoning. It was redesignated to medium density residential. The master plan for Marcola Meadows was amended to accommodate the changes to the zoning for the neighborhood. And this site is now identified for community commercial use, specifically with this application, a medical clinic for an eye surgeon. It is notable, however, that should the redesignation and rezoning occur, once the zoning is implemented to community commercial, it would facilitate any type of commercial development that's allowable in the district. However, the applicant's intended use and sort of the driving force behind this redesignation on a much smaller scale, a very site-specific scale, is a medical facility. So similar to previous application for Marcola Meadows, but on a much smaller scale, it's a little hard to identify the site. It's kind of in the left center of the diagram for the Metro Plan. It's a little over an acre, so it doesn't show up very well on a metro-sized scale. But the intersection of Marcola Road and 28th Street is visible and indicated on the Metro Plan diagram. So currently, it's designated for medium density residential, and the proposal is to designate it for commercial. Concurrently with that, This shows it better on the site-specific scale. One other item to note is that the property itself is articulated. The boundary is not linear. It has some articulations on it. And so there's a slight overlap of the existing commercial designation and zoning that occupies a sliver along the western boundary of the property. So the parcel size is slightly larger than the area requested for redesignation and rezoning. So I just want to be clear that there's about a 0.03 acres, roughly 10,000 square feet or so, that is, it's actually would be much less than 10,000 square feet, that is already zoned and designated for commercial uses. I could say about 1,200 square feet. So the request is to designate the corner property commercial. Concurrent with that,
I think we lost audio on Andy.
Yes, let's pause here till I can get Andy back online.
okay. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, now we are.
Okay, for some reason my microphone. So
Okay.
where did you lose me?
You just pulled up the current zoning map of property.
Okay, good. Okay, it gave me an error message, and so I wasn't sure what's going on. Okay, apologize for that. It's great with virtual meetings. Nothing ever goes wrong. So the proposal for to change the zoning from what is currently medium density residential at the corner to, of course, now I can't. Community commercial zoning for this corner property. The applicant's master plan that is currently in place for this site identifies the commercial site to the west. The balance of the area is for multi-unit residential. And so the corner property at that intersection would be redesignated and rezoned to commercial. Staff does note in the staff report that the other three corners of the intersection of 28th Street and Marcola Road are not residential. There's industrial zoning on the other three corners. So it does lend itself to a non-residential use on that one corner as kind of a transition and buffer from what is a pretty busy intersection with a lot of industrial traffic to residential to the north and also institutional uses to the west. Staff would consider this a recalibration of the action that were taken less than a year ago, where the acreage of commercial was reduced from about 45.5 acres down to a little over 9 acres. Now, because of market demand and interest from medical use, they are looking to reinstate some commercial presence at this corner, which is a desirable outcome based on the target industry that's identified, and that being healthcare. So again, to reiterate, the request is for commercial designation and zoning for about 1.14 acres at the intersection of Marcola Road and 28th Street. The stated and intended use is for medical facility, a medical clinic, specializing in eye care. However, until the site plan is approved and the facility is built, it would allow for any type of commercial use once the zoning is instated, should that occur. Staff did receive a couple of phone call inquiries. The neighborhood has been very well informed about what's been going on with multiple subdivision phases, master plan modifications, changes to zoning, changes to the plan designation twice within the last 2 years, the last year plus. So we did receive at the end of the day today comments regarding objecting to the proposal. Staff did request clarification from the respondent, who indicated that they object to the rezoning, no stated reason for it. But staff had requested some additional details for decision makers and for the planning commission to contemplate, the reasoning and rationale for their objection. Their stated concerns were traffic and noise, and that they felt it was better used for residential at that corner. So those comments are on Springfield Oregon Speaks, along with the staff response requesting if they desired clarification on their comment, and they did provide that. So that is what's in the record currently. I know that the applicant and the prospective site occupant and operator of the facility is present in the hearing tonight, and I imagine that they will have additional information to provide, but I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you, Andy. Are there any questions about the staff presentation from the commissioners? I see Commissioner Salazar.
Hi, Andy. Thanks for the presentation. I'm just wondering, I know this is a phased development, and just wondering what the timeline would be for construction of this phase when they would get to this.
This phase could be constructed as soon as the master plan is modified. So I'll provide the full timeline. This is being presented to the Planning Commission for their consideration and a recommendation to present to the City Council in the fall. So the public hearing before the City Council is currently scheduled for September 7th. And at which time, should it be approved and adopted, the zoning would be in place by October. It would essentially need to be, I think it was in effect 30 days after adoption of the ordinance. So that'd be mid-September, and it would take effect in October. Around that time, the applicant would be submitting for a modification to their master plan. It's much less comprehensive than the last one, which was essentially almost an entire rewrite, a reconfiguration of the entire 100-acre property. So there would be some incremental changes to accommodate the new zoning, the new commercial presence at that corner. There are some adjustments that were done to the transportation study that accompany the application. The type of use that is the stated intent, which being a medical clinic, is not that dissimilar from an apartment building or a townhouse complex as far as the traffic generation goes. Should it change to something else, like a fast food restaurant or gas station, that would change the traffic dynamic somewhat. It may require some additional analysis, but under the current proposal, there is not a significant change to traffic patterns or traffic volumes. And so they could proceed, they being the applicant, could proceed to construct on the site. As soon as the master plan modification is completed, we would anticipate that probably maybe the end of 2021, early 2022. Our staff's understanding of the applicant's timeline is to begin business around 2023. So the site plan review would be submitted. They would be looking to get their building permits and begin construction. And staff's understanding is that it would be about 2 years from now when they'd be looking to open the doors. And the applicant may be able to provide better details on their timeline, but that was our understanding of their timeline, which I would suggest is a reasonable timeline to get all of the necessary land use entitlements in place in order to have this change made to accommodate this clinic facility.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Quigley.
Yes, I did not actually have a chance to review the comment on Springfield, Oregon Speaks regarding the project. If the city attorney is in here, do you think that we can make a decision this evening without having reviewed it? I'm not sure whether everyone else has done so too.
Where is the comment on Springfield, Oregon Speaks that was related to this application?
It's on the screen.
Oh, sorry, my screen.
It's under the Metro Plan. I put it under the Metro Plan Amendment application.
Yeah.
Is there any reason the commission can't read it right now? I mean, I think that's the, oh, I see comments and feedback. Sorry, I was having trouble getting it big enough I could read it. Those are pretty short comments, and I think there's no reason the commission can't read them now, although the commission, it's up to you. The timing of your decision making is at the discretion of the commission, so you can decide if you need more time or not. There's no legal reason that you would be required to delay a decision. But also the public hearing is not closed yet, and so we still could have a request for leaving the record open, or it's a little premature to decide that right now. If that answers your question.
Thank you. I'm trying to read it now. It is awfully small. And I couldn't find it on Springfield, Oregon Speaks either. But I'm not really good at finding much of anything on that. Thank you.
So I can just read it to the commission right now. It says,
The first comment, Sandy, sorry to interrupt. The first one is the bottom comment,
right.
and then the follow-up comment is the one on the top.
So the bottom one is basically like Andy had said, it's just that they're opposing. And then the second one on the top provides a little bit more reason. And I'm going to read, quote, "No community commercial to keep the area quite without general public traffic. There are enough shopping centers, Walmart off of Mohawk and shops on Mohawk. The business in the area are quite and not a lot of traffic or noise. I do not want the commercial traffic and people coming and going in the neighborhood." So the way you get to this is if you click on the Metro Plan Amendment and then you click here on comments and feedback, it will take you to the comments. And then so there's comments here, and then you can click over here to see staff response. And so after that first comment, Andy had responded back, it would be helpful to have some more information and context, and that these would be provided to the Planning Commission and Council. So that's how you navigate in Springfield, Oregon Speaks. I've read the comment. You can decide what to do as you finish the public hearing, whether you want to hold the record open or how you want to handle this.
Was there a staff response as well? And if so, could that be read?
Sure, there was a staff response. Andy said, "Hello, Ms. Kubo. Thank you for sending your comments, and they will be forwarded to the Planning Commission and the City Council for consideration at the upcoming public hearings. If you have specific reasons for your objections to the proposed rezoning of 1.14 acres from medium density residential to community commercial, please send comments to my attention, and these will be passed along to the Planning Commission and City Council. While all comments will be considered, it may be helpful for the decision makers to understand the reasoning for your objections if they have some additional background information and context."
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments from the commissioners?
Chair, can I just provide one clarifying statement?
Of course, Andy.
So I'm just going to bring up, if you excuse me for 1 second, I'm going to bring up the master plan diagram again, if I can. So the commercial site that exists currently has a fixed driveway location that has been determined on Marcola Road only. And it will be shared with this site. So about there will be the possibility for traffic to pass through the multi-unit residential site to get to Pierce Parkway, which is a more circuitous route. The most direct anticipated traffic line and I guess ingress egress point would be approximately where that arrow is shown, where it indicates
Sorry to
the
interrupt
commercial.
you, Andy. I'm not seeing your screen.
Oh, okay. Let me do share screen here. There we go.
Great, now I see it.
Does that work? Okay, apologize. So approximately where there's an arrow with the dotted line identifying the commercial site in the current master plan, there is a shared driveway that is the fixed location for access to the commercial site. It will be derived, almost all access coming and going from the site will be taken off of Marcola Road. So the comments about traffic penetrating into the neighborhood staff would suggest they're not a likelihood that there would be an increase in commercial traffic. It will be focused on the existing busy Marcola Road, not internal to the site. I believe that the commenters have a property off of U Street and Short Street on the east side of 31st Street. Commercial traffic would not be inbound to sort of the neighborhood, the residential neighborhood component. It would be retained and around the intersection itself. It does not diminish the validity of their concerns, but I just wanted to point out that the commercial access for this property has already been fixed, and it is not directed to the residential streets.
Thank you, Andy. All right. Commissioner Salazar, do you have a question? Oh. All right, so we will now move into the opportunity to provide testimony. I will call on participants in order, first of whoever is in favor, and then whoever is neither in favor nor opposed, and then third, who is opposed to the application. When I call on you, please state your name and mailing address, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. If you are, and then after that, I will ask folks who are on the phone to speak. So first, I will ask folks who are logged into Zoom who are in favor of the application to speak. Brenda, do we have anybody in the queue?
I don't have anyone in the chat.
My name is Dr. Ambati. I'm in favor. I'm the prospective buyer of the property for the medical practice.
Thank you. Can you provide your address for the record, please?
Oh, sure. So again, my name is Bala Ambati, B-A-L-A, last name A-M-B-A-T-I. My home address is 3365 Bardell Avenue, B-A-R-D-E-L-L Avenue in Eugene, Oregon, zip code 97401. I'm an ophthalmologist. I'm the owner of Pacific Clear Vision Institute in Eugene, and our current lease ends in June of 2024. So we're interested in obtaining this land and building a new office for our eye clinic in the next 2.5 years or 3 years. I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I understand the objection that was raised on Springfield, Oregon Speaks. I would like to allay that concern by saying that our outpatient practice is open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So I would not anticipate any significant traffic, in the evenings or weekends. As was noted by staff member Mr. Limbird, the entry to the proposed building would be on Marcola Road, not on the residential side.
Thank you for providing your comment. Are there any others who would like to provide comment in favor? I think I see AKS Engineering.
They are our applicant and they do want to speak. So when you get to that in our agenda, they need to be brought up as the applicant.
Great, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Do we have
I think
any?
we skipped. I think we were supposed to let the applicant speak before comments from the audience.
Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. I just want to go back and
Yeah.
the purpose of that is to allow the applicants an opportunity to speak before the public and then again after the public in case there are comments. So I'm assuming the applicant is fine with the prospective purchaser speaking first, but we should just make sure to fix that procedural issue.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Cuevila.
I think it's actually more generally accepted that we go with the staff report, then we ask the commissioners if there's questions for staff, then we go to the applicant's statement. If we could go ahead and ask for questions from staff, I'd appreciate it, or for staff.
Absolutely. Are there additional questions for staff? Commissioner Cuevila.
Yes, I do have a question for staff. I did read through the report, particularly regarding traffic. I understand that it's in most instances near busy streets like Marcola and 28th, that it's more ideal to have driveways not at all near the intersections, or perhaps also, say, for instance, in the area of the Albertson site to the west, to have access to commercial sites from an internal driveway system rather than an external driveway onto a busy street. Now, I understand that that's not the case in this, but has our traffic department analyzed the location of the driveway in relation to the intersection to determine that it will be not cause a safety hazard? And then also, is there any, would there be any reason to ask to have any kind of internal service to some of the properties rather than all being accessed off of the busier streets? Trying to minimize driveways for safety of pedestrians, bicyclists, and there's going to be a school in the area as well. So that's my question.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Commissioner Cuevila. That is a good point. I'm going to bring up again if I can just, I'll try to share my screen again with the proposed metro plan, or the I'm going to show the hopefully you can see my screen again here. So you are correct, Commissioner Cuevila. There will only be one driveway planned between 28th Street and what will be the intersection of V Street and Marcola Road. So along that whole stretch of frontage, there's only one driveway, and it's planned essentially, it's a little bit further west than that arrow. It's planned to serve the commercial site, the school site, should they need alternate access for maintenance or for their, for facilities. It would not be a school bus entrance. And also for as a secondary entrance for the multifamily residential. That was moved as far west as possible from the intersection, recognizing that 28th Street is a major collector and Marcola Road is an arterial. It had to be moved at least 400 feet west of the intersection to meet safety setbacks. And so that was the minimum proximity to the intersection, and so that's what staff allowed the applicant to show as the shared access for the school, should they need an alternate access, kind of a backdoor entrance for the multi-unit residential and the primary commercial access, and that would be the only driveway and staff sought to consolidate the uses there. Again, as you point out, to minimize conflicting driveway entrances there. However, it was deemed that there was at least one driveway entrance needed to prevent non-residential traffic from having to go back into the neighborhood in order to return then to the street system. So,
Great. Thank you for your answer.
Thank you, Commissioner Quibla and Andy. I apologize for that procedural misstep and would just like to ask our legal team if we do need to redo the public testimony in favor once we get to that part of the agenda.
No, we don't need to redo anything. We just need to let the applicant speak to the application.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I will ask the commissioners if you have any other questions for staff before we hear from the applicant. All right, so I will hand it over to the applicant for their presentation.
Oh, thank you. My name is Chris Goodell for the applicant. We have a very, very short slideshow. If I'm able to share the screen.
I just gave you co-host capabilities.
Okay. All set. Good. Thank you. Chair McGinley, fellow commissioners, my name is Chris Goodell. I work for AKS Engineering. Our address is 12965 Southwest Herman Road, Suite 100, Tualatin, Oregon 97062. We prepared the application and are working for the property owner and applicant. In this case, that's before you here tonight. Wanted to thank city staff for the positive recommendation, for their help preparing the application. In fact, help preparing all the applications that we've worked on here. The city of Springfield is pretty lucky to have employees like Christina and Andy on staff. Do you want to go ahead and filter through here? Okay, so yeah, so again, this is the area that we're talking about here is this small, slightly over 1 acre property on the corner of Marcola Road and 28th. It's the applications here before you are a Metro Plan Diagram Amendment and a Zone Map Amendment. And then as Andy mentioned, there'll be a subsequent master plan application. And then I believe something like site design review for the office building that was discussed too. Go ahead to the next slide. So again, this is some pretty much redundant of what Andy covered. Is really there's not too much to the maps here. It's not a bunch of fancy diagrams, but this shows what you have currently with the smaller section of commercial and then what's shown here on the right, which is what the property owner applicant and obviously the future tenant that testified earlier would like to see. And then here's the zoning. It's community commercial and it's very similar to the Metro Plan diagram. So again, Andy had this document up earlier. This is our master plan diagram, and it shows as a blow up there, you can see in the access point there. It's just to the left of that arrow on the bubble diagram. Yeah, so it's right in there, and that's going to serve as the main access for whatever uses go in there. And it will also serve the school site as secondary access and also the multifamily community that's planned to go in just north of it. So go ahead to the next one. So I don't have anything else to add other than that. One neighbor had the questions about traffic and noise. And I think overall with what you've heard here tonight is that there's going to be very low trip generation associated with this use and negligible noise associated with a medical office building compared with multifamily development. So hopefully that will satisfy the neighbor that had that comment. I believe it should. And Commissioner Koivula had the question about the driveway locations, which Andy answered accurately. I'm looking over my notes here and I don't see that any other questions came up. I've got members of my team here that are with me. We'd like to just answer any questions that you have before you close the record and would appreciate your recommendation of approval here tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions from the commission for the applicant? All right, hearing none, we will, all right, people's videos are coming on, just making sure there were no questions. We will go back to the testimony, this time in the right order. We already heard one public testimony for in favor. Are there any other folks who would like to speak in favor of the application? Okay, are there any folks who would like to speak neither in favor nor opposed the application? Okay, and are there any opposed to the application? Okay, we did have those two comments opposed. So now, ordinarily now we would hear staff response to testimony. We already did hear some staff response for the responses on Springfield Oregon Speaks. Andy, did you have any response to the testimony in favor?
No response. That's consistent with staff's understanding of our previous discussion. So I'm happy that I had a correct recollection of and I did not misspeak or provide mischaracterization of the application and their timelines. I think that's important is the timeline that it's set out a reasonable schedule for all the land use entitlements to be completed in anticipation of a future build. One thing that I would note is that should the commission wish to address the objections, staff could prepare additional findings to address those specific comments and amend the staff report and bring it back for adoption at a future meeting. We have time, it is on our side, with a 3-month gap between the time of this hearing and the city council hearing. So an adoption this evening is not paramount.
Thank you for that information, Andy. And now there's time for a rebuttal from the applicant if you wish. Okay.
No rebuttal necessary, thanks.
Thank you. Now we have an opportunity for the commission to pose possible questions to the applicant, staff, or to the testimony that we have heard and read. You can turn on your cameras, indicate, oh, that's a legacy from GoToMeeting. You can raise your hand if you would like to speak. Are there any questions? Did anybody have thoughts on whether we heard adequate testimony or a time to have staff, or if the findings from staff are adequate to address all of the testimony we've heard? Commissioner Puebla.
Yes, I'd like to go ahead and say that I think it's very important to say that we have had adequate time, at least myself speaking, have had adequate time to read and completely understand the comments, which unfortunately I didn't read before the meeting, and as they relate to the application. So I see no reason to hold up the application to deliberate any longer.
Commissioner Puebla, your audio cut out for me just towards the last part of you speaking there. I still cannot hear you. I think something is going on with your audio.
I tried to turn him back on, but it's something with his equipment.
Let's try, Brenda, can you paste the call-in phone number in the chat?
Yes.
Thank you. And Commissioner Puebla, can you hear us? Okay, great. So perhaps we can have you call in 2 for the price of 1 tonight.
I'll try one more time.
Yes.
Can you hear? Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. I'm sorry. Third time's a charm.
There you go.
I just wanted to say that I believe that I myself had enough time to review the comments from the public that came to Springfield, Oregon Speaks, and appreciate staff reading them. So, and I don't believe that we need to delay a decision based on the comments that have come in. I think staff's response was adequate. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Quibla. Are there any other comments related to what we just heard from Commissioner Quibla or anything else? Sandy.
Yeah, I think what I would recommend is, because we do have time and we want to just add some findings instead of trying to do it on the spot, that you can raise any other concerns or anything, but that we would bring back the actual order with the findings at your next meeting to adopt, since that way it would be clean and we're not going to delay the council meeting at all. So that would be my request.
Okay, can I get a show of thumbs down for bad, in the middle for, okay, everybody likes that approach. Okay, so do I hear a motion for that?
So I can maybe help. You do need to close the hearing and the
yes.
record if that is what you want to do at this point. And then that would be all you need to do. And then we would just come back with the actual decision at your next meeting.
Thank you, Sandy. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing? I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
And can we have a roll call vote, please? Okay, Chair McGinley, aye.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
My mic didn't go off. McGinley,
Aye.
Landon, absent. Quivula,
Yes.
Gill,
Aye.
Bergen.
Aye.
Salazar.
Aye.
There you go.
Motion carries. So we've now closed the public hearing, and there will be additional findings for that will be brought back to us at a future meeting. I see
Does the
Christina
planning-
popping up.
Yeah, does the planning commission want to close its written record so that the public doesn't submit more comments to you? Any public comment that is submitted to Andy would just go to the city council then. If the public sent in something before, between now and your next meeting.
I move to go ahead, Commissioner Quibla.
I move to close the written record.
Seconded. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner McGinley, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Commissioner Landon's absent. Commissioner Quivula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
Aye.
Commissioner Bergen,
Nay.
Commissioner Salazar.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, thank you, everyone. So we've closed the public hearing and we have closed the written record. And we will hear back from staff with their findings in a future meeting. Is there any other action that is needed to solidify that, Christina or Sandy?
There is not.
Great. Thank you.
My audio blanked out when they were moving to close public hearing. Can close a public record. Can you tell me who did the first and second?
Yes, Commissioner Quibla made the motion and I made the second.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we will hear back from this at a future meeting. The next agenda item is if we have any reports of city. Well, I guess first I just want to make sure that the applicant knows that no decision will be made tonight. We will we'll make our decision at a future meeting with future findings. Just so that we're all clear, but thank you for being here tonight and we'll see you again. And now we'll move on to our next topic, Do we have any reports of city council meetings?
None.
Thank you, Councillor Pitts. The only thing that I saw was that there were planning commission interviews last night. We had Commissioner Bergen interview again. Glad to see that you reapplied for a second term and hope we'll spend more time with you. And then there was another applicant for our vacant position. So looks like we will be hearing from council soon on who will be appointed, and we'll see a new face on the planning commission.
Council will vote on the 21st, next Monday.
Great,
on the
thank
two
you, Brenda.
Mhm.
And I'll also note, I saw in the packet, former Commissioner Sherwood's formal resignation letter to the council. And I just wanted to note that some gratitude for his years of service and leadership as our past chair. I really appreciate him, and yeah, grateful for service. Our next item is, do we have any business from the members of the Planning Commission? Commissioner Quivla.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'd like to report on Community Development Advisory Committee meeting we had. We had presentations from the Springfield Eugene Tenants Association, the Catholic Community Services, a group called Youth ERA, which is developing a youth hostel for homeless youth in downtown Eugene, and Carry It Forward, which is a local organization that helps to serve the homeless. Chris McAllister made that, in case those of you who know him. The decisions that were made that are recommendations to the City Council were to fund the Youth ERA Hostel, a group called Daisy Chain, which provides services to pregnant homeless women, and the Springfield Eugene Tenants Association, and then full funding for Carry It Forward, which again works locally in homeless services through provision of food pantry, case management, shower trailer, and a number of other items. So that's going to go to the 21st on the City Council session as well. And then also, I wanted to go ahead and tell folks that the Lane County Commission is going to be advertising for folks to participate in independent redistricting commission for redistricting the Lane County Council or the Lane County Commissioners boundaries based on the 10-year census. And they're just starting now to look for people who are interested. And since many of us are very up on land use and things like that, that I think that if there's any of us who are interested in that, the county will be advertising for folks to participate in that. They're going to be looking for initially one person from each commission district. So there'll be one person from Springfield. So a total of 5 people, since there's 5 districts. And then those 5 will appoint another 10 folks. And then that'll be the group that decides the commission boundary maps for the next 10 years. So that, again, a real important thing. And if there's those who are interested, it would be great to have a real robust Springfield application. I myself am filling it out now. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Quivla.
Hey, Chair McGinley, can I jump in real quick? I just recently thought of something. Is that okay?
Absolutely, Counselor.
Yeah, so yesterday we had a CETA meeting. Honestly, I blocked it out because it was really, 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 really long. But for those of you familiar with, the Glenwood development, so I'm not necessarily saying this as a city council, but saying it's just as a citizen of Springfield. One thing that I, as well as others, have really been pushing for is public input, because yes, it's in Glenwood, but this is going to affect all of us. And I think, you all are the subject matter experts, and you know more than the average person, to include myself, about how various buildings, whatever, play into the whole cultural landscape of Springfield. And so I do ask that if you have an opinion, please voice it. And hopefully, if we do roll out some type of citizen inquiry about what they would want to see, I would hope that you all would not only use your expertise, but speak as a Springfield citizen about how you feel about the project and what you would want to see.
Thank you, Councilor Pitts. I have, oh, Christina, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I just really quick for the Planning Commission and for Councilor Pitts. There is an adopted refinement plan for this area, and the CETA board doesn't have authority to change that refinement plan that sets some of the land use context. It's not going to specifically govern the request for proposal Councilor Pitts is talking about, but it will affect whatever is developed there. And if CETA wanted to make changes to that, that would come to the Planning Commission for recommendation under a Type 4 process, and ultimately would be adopted by the City Council. So I do want to be clear that there could be a role for the Planning Commission in its specifically, sorry, RFQ. I keep requests for qualifications, not a request for proposals. I kept messing myself up last night, as well as other counselors. It's a lot of acronyms. It's a request for qualifications. But the Planning Commission would have a role if the refinement plan sort of land use form were to change for that area, or any of the zoning or allowed uses under that zoning, which again is a little bit different than the request for qualifications or CETA's selection of a developer, but it's a related topic.
Thank you, Christina. I continue to be impressed with how much is in your brain. I have a topic to share, and I'll just read from an email. There was a bill passed at the same time as House Bill 2001. It's House Bill 2003, and it's focused on a lot of things. One of them includes housing production strategy. So in 2019, they passed House Bill 2003, which aims to help communities meet the housing needs of Oregonians. The law requires Oregon cities over 10,000 population, so Springfield, to study the future housing needs of their residents and to develop strategies that encourage the production of housing their residents' needs. During the 2019 to 21 biennium, several cities were awarded funding to complete a prototype housing production strategies. And there will be a meeting for the recipients of that funding to share information, share their process, outcomes, and lessons learned. So if you are interested in housing production strategies, affordable housing, I know we talk about affordable housing a lot here. There will be this information session on the 30th, and I'm happy to send this to Brenda to send out to the full commission. It'll be June 30th. It'll begin at 2:35 and will end at 4. So about 2:30 to 4 on June 30th via Zoom. DLCD is hosting it, and they will be hearing from Tualatin, Medford, Coos Bay, and LeGrand. So just sharing that opportunity. Are there any other reports from the commissioners? Okay, and getting back to my script. Do we have any business from the Development and Public Works Department?
Yes, good evening, commissioners, and I do have a few things to share with you. First of all, to follow up on Commissioner Cuevola's comments about the Community Development Advisory Committee meeting. The council agenda has been packed for June 21st as their last regular session meeting, and so they've shifted a few items to the 28th of June, and they will have a regular session on 28th. And so taking action on the community development block grant funding will actually be on the 28th instead of the 21st. To follow up on what Chair McGinley was sharing about the housing production strategy, Springfield will actually be required to do one of those once we have updated our housing needs analysis. When we do the housing needs analysis, we will look at our buildable lands inventory and our projected housing needs and compare them to see how they match up. So we will be taking to council at the next meeting on the 21st, request to support an application to DLCD for grant funding, Department of Land Conservation, to begin our buildable lands inventory by creating a comprehensive plan map so that we'll have a better map than that Metro Plan diagram you've been looking at. That is actually tax lot specific or parcel specific, and to do the buildable lands inventory part, not the housing needs yet, but if that's, hopefully we could get funding for that and be able to get a start on it. We're also, I think, I don't remember if Mark mentioned it, but we'll also be asking council support for an application also to DLCD to do the findings for the middle housing portion of the code update. You are all invited to the retirement party tomorrow evening for Jim Donovan. Thank you to Commissioner Cravala for having prompted that to happen at Island Park. We will be following COVID protocols, although that does not require a face covering since we are outside, and we will provide drinks. So we'd like to come and from 5 to 7, basically after dinner. So with Jim's retirement, we have made Mark Rust our interim community, all these names, current planning supervisor is, I think, his interim title. So he will be overseeing the current planning staff. And as you heard earlier, we are very lucky to have Andy Limbird on staff. And so he will be lead planner to help spread that load and be a good resource for the other current planners who will be looking for his guidance as well. So I just wanted to give you an update on those two positions, and we are taking advantage of Portland State's fellowship opportunity. So we're going to be having a fellowship student for the summer, and we're looking at how else we can kind of fill that staffing need over this next year.
Thank you, Sandy. And just as a reminder for the gathering tomorrow, it will be lovely to see you all. It's not a planning commission meeting, and Christina said that it doesn't need to be noticed, but if we could avoid huddling together and looking like we're conspiring, that would be great. So if we do see each other, and I do hope to see you all there, we can talk about past land use things. We cannot talk about things that are currently happening. Mostly, I hope that we can just catch up with each other and, you know, grab a photo or something and bid farewell to Jim. But let's not talk land use for once and all huddle together and sit together.
Yeah, just to be clear, it would violate public meetings law for the planning commission, a quorum of you, which is a majority, to talk about business that could come before the planning commission. So anecdotes about silly things that happen during a public hearing that are unrelated to planning commission business would be fine. Discussions about land use hearings, even things that could repeat themselves in the future, just avoid that.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you for keeping us in line.
So one last reminder for your next meeting in July. We've scheduled it for Wednesday. July 4th is a Monday. So typically when we have a Monday holiday, we have the commission meeting on Wednesday, even though the council's not meeting on Tuesday that week. We thought we'd still go to the Wednesday just to give you, if people are going off for the weekend, to give you a chance to read your packet prior to the meeting. So your next meeting will be Wednesday, July 7th, again at 5:30, as you had agreed to have these longer work sessions on the code update. So we'll have the code update and then likely bring back to you in regular session the decision on the plan amendment zone change you had before you tonight.
Thank you, Sandy. Is there anything else from anyone else before we close tonight? All right, well, thank you, everyone, and I hereby adjourn the Planning Commission meeting, and I'll see you all again for an early start time. Thank you, everybody, for getting here on time today on July 7th. Sorry, July 6th.